She smiled in the photograph, a beautiful, innocent child in the arms of her father. But decades later, when the picture resurfaced, it revealed a dark, disturbing secret. And the man in the photo wasn't her father at all. Tonight, we take a slow, chilling journey through the story of a single photograph and the tragic mystery of a girl whose entire life was built on a lie. This is the story of Sharon Marshall, a name she didn't choose and a life that was never hers. It was the summer of 1975, the kind of warm, carefree summer that lingers in memory. Families fill the grounds at County Fair in Oklahoma, cotton candy in hand, children running wild, music and lights spilling into the night sky. A local photographer was snapping candid portraits of attendees, capturing joy, nostalgia, and quiet moments of connection. One image stood out, a young girl, maybe 5 or 6, wearing a wide, innocent smile. She's in the arms of a man, her father, presumably a stiff, older man with stern face and vacant eyes. The photo was printed and briefly featured in a small exhibition. Nobody came forward to claim it. It was filed away, forgotten, until 2005. Decades later, Matt Birkbeck, an investigative journalist and true crime author, was digging through records for a completely unrelated story when he stumbled across a mugshot of a man named Franklin Delano Floyd. The name wasn't familiar, but his face was. It matched the man in the photograph. What was a fugitive criminal doing in a family photo from a small-town fair? Who was the girl? Why had no one ever connected the dots? Matt pulled the thread, and what unraveled was far darker than anyone could have imagined. The child in the photo had gone by many names over the years: Tanya Hughes, Sharon Marshall, and at one point, even Suzanne Savakis. But nothing about her identity was ever consistent. School records, hospital files, and even Social Security numbers were vague, altered, or completely fabricated. As an adult, she had lived a tragic life. Described as brilliant, kind, and deeply troubled, Sharon was accepted into Georgia Tech on a full scholarship to study aerospace engineering. But instead of pursuing her dream, she ended up stripping at clubs, constantly on the move, raising a child of her own under suspicious circumstances, all while being controlled by an older man she called her husband, but who introduced himself as her father to others. That man was Franklin Floyd. Franklin Delano Floyd was no ordinary criminal. His rap sheet was long and disturbing. In the 1960s, he had served time for kidnapping and assault. By the 1970s, he had violated parole and vanished off the grid. When he reemerged, he was no longer just a fugitive. He was raising a little girl as his own. Investigators believe he kidnapped Suzanne Savakis, the real identity of the girl in the picture, in 1975. At the time, her mother had briefly gone to jail for passing bad checks. Floyd, who had been dating her mother under an alias, took Suzanne and vanished. He didn't just change her name, he changed her entire reality. He raised her as his daughter, while also sexually abusing her, manipulating her, and ensuring she had no contact with the outside world that wasn't tightly controlled. In 1990, Sharon, now in her early 20s, died in a suspicious hit-and-run accident in Oklahoma City. She had been found on the side of the road, severely injured. She later died in the hospital. Floyd claimed it was an accident, but inconsistencies in his story suggested otherwise. By then, he had taken her young son and fled. It wasn't until 1990 that authorities tracked Floyd down. He had kidnapped another child, this time at gunpoint from an elementary school, claiming the child was his. He was arrested, and over the years, new charges were stacked against him. But the real breakthrough came years later, when DNA and investigative persistence finally confirmed the girl in the photograph, Sharon Marshall, was actually Suzanne Savakis, kidnapped as a child and hidden in plain sight for nearly 2 decades. In the end, Sharon's life was stolen before it even began. Her real identity, her family, her potential, all ripped away by a man who never saw her as a daughter, only as something to control. The photograph that resurfaced decades later became a symbol of her story, a frozen moment in time that hid something sinister beneath the surface. A girl smiling, because she didn't know yet that her whole life would be a lie. We often think of photographs as capturing the truth, as proof of a moment of love, of innocence. But in this case, the truth was hidden behind a smile, and it would take 30 years before the world would know who the girl in the picture really was. 30 years later, after Sharon's tragic death in 1990, the case should have ended, but it didn't, because there was one loose end that kept haunting investigators: her son, Michael. Michael Hughes was only 6 years old when his mother died. Sharon had claimed that Floyd was not his biological father, and DNA tests later confirmed that. But in a move both desperate and terrifying, Floyd fought for custody, and when that failed, he took Michael from school at gunpoint, kidnapping the boy and disappearing once again. For years, authorities searched for Michael. They hoped he was alive, perhaps hidden with someone sympathetic. Maybe, just maybe, he had escaped a fate his mother couldn't. But the truth would only come out years later, and it was heartbreaking. In 2014, now serving a life sentence on kidnapping and assault charges, Franklin Floyd finally spoke about Michael. After relentless questioning, he made a quiet confession. He had killed Michael on the same day he abducted him, buried his body, left no trace. To this day, Michael's remains have never been found. It was a chilling end to a story that had already stolen so much. For many, this confirmed what they feared. Floyd hadn't just destroyed one life. He had destroyed an entire lineage, erased it. Sharon Marshall, Tanya Hughes, Suzanne Savakis. So many names. But who was she? By the time the full truth came out, decades had passed. But those who knew her, former classmates, teachers, co-workers at the strip clubs, painted a picture of a brilliant and loving woman trapped in a terrifying reality. She had dreams. She wanted to work for NASA. She loved books, had a kind heart, and was fiercely protective of her son. And yet, she was a prisoner, manipulated by a man who had taken everything from her: her name, her freedom, her safety, and twisted it into something unrecognizable. What makes this case so haunting is not just the crime itself, but the fact that Sharon managed to survive, to smile, to love, even in the face of unspeakable abuse. The story of Sharon Marshall hasn't been told in books, podcasts, and a haunting Netflix documentary. But each retelling leaves a mark, not just because of the horror, but because of the questions it forces us to ask. How many children are living lives built on lies? How many missing persons remain hidden in plain sight? And how do we recognize evil when it wears the mask of a parent? For investigators, the story became more than a case. It became a symbol of persistence. It was solved not in a flash of evidence, but piece by painstaking piece, through journalism, DNA testing, and the relentless pursuit of the truth. And for the public, it became a reminder that the people around us, even those who smile in photographs, might be carrying untold stories and unbearable pain. Some photos tell 1,000 words, but this one told 1,000 lies. The girl in the picture was not safe. She was not happy, and the man beside her was not her father. She was a stolen child whose life was hijacked, and whose story nearly slipped into darkness forever. But in the end, the truth caught up, and now her story is known. So the next time you see an old photograph, take a closer look, because behind every face is a story, and sometimes the scariest stories are the ones hiding in plain sight. If this story left you thinking, please subscribe, like, and share.